Premed. Didn't think I'd be talking about this topic again, but then I remembered that when I was starting my journey, I really wanted somebody to tell me the tidbits and what to focus on and what mistakes to avoid, so here's exactly that. And I will be straightforward with you. Mistake number one that people make is starting to focus on their pre-med resume in their third and fourth year. Okay, it's never too late to start something, but as soon as you figure out you want to be a pre-med, start then. Just believe me on that one, the sooner you start, the better it will be for you. So, what are the things you need to focus on? Your GPA, your medical experiences, which is jobs and volunteering, your shadowing, your research experience, and your MCAT. And all of that will create a nice story of why you want to be a medical student. So let's start with number one, GPA. The only tip I have for you is don't rush in. If it's your first semester, first year in college, don't be taking all the difficult classes all at once, like chemistry as well as all the biologies or genetics, and have all of them in one semester where you will have to sacrifice some of the grades to keep other grades afloat. Now, I will be honest, this is the mistake I made. My first semester, I already had credits coming into the university, so I took genetics and organic chemistry 1 in the same semester, and I did sacrifice genetics grade for my organic chemistry grade, and that really hurt my GPA, and it was really difficult to keep working and just get A pluses and keep on going, and I couldn't make another mistake or it will hurt my GPA even more. So just take my advice, take things slow. You still have 3 to 4 years of college, so take your time taking those classes. Take 1 to 2 difficult classes and then take the easier classes. Just let it flow. Okay, with that out of the way, let's go into your medical experience. You can get it through getting a job at a clinic, or you can start volunteering at a hospital. I think both are good, but I would also say start as soon as you can. So if you can start doing that your freshman year, please do. The reason being is when you get to your third or fourth year and you start thinking, oh shoot, I don't have any medical experience, and you should get at least 100 hours and maybe aim for 300 hours to be competitive. You also want to show, oh, I got that experience over a span of 2 to 3 years instead of just 3 months. Because clearly when you spend it about 2 years on something, that's a commitment. When you do 3 months, that looks like you were just trying to catch up. And if you start early, let's say you start working at a clinic and you don't like it and then you go to a different clinic, it also gives you more opportunities. Now, another tip I would give, and please everybody do it, join a medical society if you have some extra time. So for example, I joined AMSA and I thought it was so beneficial because they already had MCAT prep studies together or study groups for classes, and you'll have friends to start taking those science classes and studying together. And they provided a lot of volunteer opportunities and a lot of medical opportunities that are in the area. Oftentimes they come to the medical society and then they forward it out to other students. So if you don't join a medical society, you're only making it more difficult for yourself. Now, just to summarize with medical experience, I would get a job in somewhere medicine related, and I would also start volunteering. Volunteer at a place like a hospice, something that you can't really work unless you have experience and qualifications. That will expose you to something you're not qualified to do. You're just volunteering, so you're doing the easy things, but that will look really good on your resume. And that ties into shadowing really nicely. If you start working at a clinic, let's say year 1 or year 2, after about half a year or a year, the doctors will know you. The doctors will want to help you, so they start letting you shadow. If you've only been at a place for about a month or 2 months, yes, you can find doctors that will let you shadow, but they're not as invested in your progression. And the doctors you would know for about 3 years can write you a really compelling letter of recommendation, and that's what you want. So with shadowing, I would really recommend start volunteering or working somewhere. That's how you will find the doctors after getting to know them for some time, ask them to shadow. There are of course other ways. You can just start talking to doctors and reaching out, or perhaps your family friends know some doctors, and that's great. But if you don't have access to those, I would really recommend start volunteering, and then you'll get to know them. Now, the next point is not really mandatory. Research. A lot of places like to see research opportunities on your resume. A lot of places really don't care. It's entirely up to you. I was very organic chemistry focused, so after my first semester organic chemistry, I just reached out to the professor and I said, hey, I would love to volunteer. Another tip, don't wait till end of the semester. Usually everybody already talked to them. Do about mid to end of semester, so let's say 2/3 in. That's when people haven't started reaching out, and you'll be one of the first ones. So you will just grab any spots. In the end of the semester, that's when the application process starts for research assistants, and you just don't want to go through that. You want to be before that and talk to the professor you already know. Or if you saw a research group that doesn't even have any spots open for research assistants, email the professor, email the graduate students and be like, hey, I love this. This is so interesting because X, Y, and Z. Is there any way we can go for a coffee chat and I can ask you more questions about it? From then you can ask, hey, is there any way that I can do to help you? Oftentimes those opportunities are for free, but they give you a lot of insight. And by working more in a research lab, eventually you might even get a paper or two out of that experience, which will look really good on your resume. And if you join a research group during a semester, oftentimes during summer they will have research internships that they might even pay you for, and that will give you a ton of research hours, which not many people get, which will make you stand out in the interview process. But that said, use your summers wisely. Also use your summers for internship opportunities in hospitals or in clinics, just to get exposure to a lot of medical stuff. Now you might be asking, so why do I need to go in and do all that? I know I want to be in medicine. When I'm gonna go to medical school, I will get exposed to everything. So why would I do that while I'm a pre-med? First of all, you might change your mind while you're pre-med. When getting exposed to those things, you might think, this is not for me. I know a lot of people that went in and shadow and looked at surgeries and realized they actually don't like blood and they don't want to deal with that. Or they went in and saw how people were suffering and thought they actually prefer psychology and they want to do something in a different space. So you can always change your mind even if you think that is meant for you. Now, another side of the story, medical schools want to see you are dedicated to it. You're dedicated to helping people. You're dedicated to medicine. So if you went 3 to 4 years or 2 to 4 years experiencing medicine, and you still want to keep on going and you keep on doing all these things, of course they're gonna take you more seriously than somebody that was just trying to do a catch-up and got all their volunteer hours and shadowing hours and everything in the span of 3 months. So that's why my advice is start as early as you can. Start your freshman year, start your sophomore year. Don't wait until the last year to just begin the process. Now, besides your GPA and besides your experience, you need to go and make sure you have a good score on MCAT. First of all, a lot of classes on the pre-med track already prepare you to take MCAT. So pay attention in your chemistry, biology, and physics classes because that will be very important. And I would recommend don't start studying for MCAT until you have finished organic chemistry 2 and genetics and physics 2, or at least are in those classes currently, because a lot of information is from those classes as well. If you will not be able to understand, you will just get confused and that can discourage you. So just take your time. But as soon as you took those classes, go ahead and start preparing for MCAT. Give yourself about 3 months. That is a good time period. So you can even dedicate a full-on summer to studying for MCAT and start taking tests. Now, the first test, if you don't do so well, don't get discouraged. You can always take additional tests. I know some people can think, but the medical school will see that I didn't do so well. But they will also see that you tried again, you kept working hard, and you got a way better score. And that's what matters. So take your time in studying and just make sure you get the score that you desire. Now, the biggest advice I could give is take your time. Don't rush it. Start early, start slow, and build momentum. So if you did start preparing your medical school resume in your 3rd or 4th year, take a year off. You'll have an entire year full of experiences when you don't need to study more that you'll be able to put into that resume. Don't put yourself in a box that, oh, I need to apply by this time and get accepted by this time, or I'm a failure. Think about, if medicine is really what you want, does it matter if it takes an extra year, but you'll be able to do it for the rest of your life? If it's really about, oh, I have to be a doctor by 30, or I don't want to do it, well, perhaps medicine is not for you. You need to feel it in your core that this is the only thing you want to do, because medical school is going to be difficult. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of competition to get into residency as well as get into medical school and further on. So it's only when you decided that it's 100% for you, you will be able to handle that. But also, I would encourage taking a year off just for personal reasons. Travel. After graduating college, you have some time to dedicate to yourself and see the world and try the things that once you're back in school, you wouldn't be able to have time for. And that's something I only understood only once I graduated. I felt like I was always in a rush to get things done, to get this and this and this. And if I didn't finish it, it would put me in so much stress. So this is my biggest piece of advice. Take your time. Now, if you have any more questions, write them down in the comments below and I will answer them to the best of my ability, and perhaps other students can also answer them for you. If this video helped you out, give it a thumbs up and I will see you guys in another video. Bye bye.